So what does it really take to land one of the most powerful jobs in a country? I'm not talking about a president, but the person who guards an entire nation's economy. Well, to figure that out, we're going to peek inside the actual entrance exam for Nepal's central bank. Let's see what it takes to get in the door.
Right. So that's the big question, isn't it? This isn't just about crunching numbers. We're talking about stability, trust, and protecting the financial lifeblood of millions of people. It's a job with an absolutely massive amount of responsibility. So let's see what our aspiring central banker has to learn first.
First things first, the number one challenge: you can't protect an institution if you don't know what it's all about. Our candidate has to get right to the very heart of the place they want to join, the Nepal Rastra Bank, also known as the NRB.
So, according to the law, the bank's mission is crystal clear. Job 1, keep prices stable. That means fighting inflation so the money in your pocket is worth the same tomorrow as it is today. And job 2, manage the country's balance of payments, which is really just the total flow of money coming into and going out of Nepal. Pretty much everything else the bank does stems from these two core duties.
But, that main objective gets broken down into a much bigger mission. To even have a shot, our candidate absolutely has to know the 5 core objectives that drive every single decision the bank makes.
And here, you really get a sense of just how huge this job is. It's not one thing. It's everything. You're creating the country's monetary policy, making sure banks don't collapse, securing the payment systems we all use every single day, and acting as the ultimate financial watchdog. And you know what? Each of these jobs is all about one thing: building and maintaining public trust in the whole system.
Okay, knowing the mission is step 1, but that's not enough. Now, our candidate basically has to become a legal expert. It's time to master the incredibly complex rulebook that governs not just the central bank, but every single financial institution in the country.
So who gets to pick the leader of this incredibly powerful organization? It's not just one person's call. A special committee gets formed to recommend 3 names. But the real question is, who gets a seat at that table? You bet the exam tests you on this exact detail.
And here it is. It's a fascinating mix of government oversight and expert opinion, right? You've got the finance minister leading the charge, bringing the government's perspective. Then you have a former governor, someone who knows the job inside and out. And finally, an independent expert. This whole structure is designed to perfectly balance political realities with deep financial know-how.
And this is no short-term gig. A 5-year term means the governor has enough time to actually implement long-term policies, hopefully away from all the day-to-day political drama. It's all about stability.
All right, so our candidate knows the mission and they know the laws, but that's all theory. Now they've got to prove they can actually manage the machinery of the economy and, just as important, the people who make that machinery run.
You can't manage an economy if you don't know what it's made of, right? And for Nepal, the economy is overwhelmingly driven by the services sector. Understanding this is absolutely crucial, because a policy that hits, say, tourism or IT is going to have a much bigger ripple effect than one that targets manufacturing. A central banker has to know where the real economic muscle is.
Okay, this right here is a critical distinction every single candidate has to know cold. You've basically got 2 main levers to steer the economy. Fiscal policy, that's all about taxes and government spending, and that's handled by the government. But monetary policy, that's about controlling the money supply and interest rates. And that's the central bank's turf. It's their number 1 tool.
Now, let's pivot for a second. Managing the economy is one thing, but hey, the central bank is also a huge organization, so our candidate needs to know management theory. This quote from Henry Fail is a classic principle called unity of command. It's all about making sure people have clear reporting lines to avoid confusion. And yes, you better believe it's on the test.
And it goes even deeper than that. Look, a central banker at any level is a manager. They need to have these 4 functions down pat. Planning where you're going, organizing your resources to get there, leading and inspiring your team, and then controlling the whole process to make sure you're actually staying on track.
All right, let's shift gears, because this is where the job gets really high stakes. Our candidate can't just be an economist or a manager. No, they also have to be a bit of a financial detective, protecting the entire system from crime. And threat number 1 is money laundering. It's basically the art of taking dirty money from illegal stuff and washing it through the financial system so it comes out the other side looking totally clean and legitimate. A central banker is standing on the front lines, trying to stop this.
So how does it actually work?
Well, the exam expects you to know these 3 stages inside and out. First up is placement. That's just getting the dirty cash into a bank. Next comes layering. That's where they move it around like crazy through a ton of complex, confusing transactions to hide the trail. And finally, integration. That's when the money slips back into the economy looking like a legitimate asset.
And we're not talking about some abstract theory here. A central banker has to be on the lookout for very specific, concrete crimes. Things like people using fake IDs to open accounts, getting massive loans with bogus paperwork, or even deliberately overvaluing property just so they can borrow more than it's worth.
Okay, time for a little pop quiz pulled straight from the exam. The law sorts financial institutions into different categories. So, do you know what a Class B institution is commonly called?
An answer is a development bank. Simple, direct, and exactly the kind of thing every potential hire needs to know by heart.
And what is that exactly? Well, unlike a regular commercial bank that does a bit of everything, a development bank has a very specific mission: to provide the money for long-term projects that help grow key parts of the economy, like industry and agriculture.
So we've journeyed through law, economics, management theory, and even criminal investigation. It's time for the final exam. Let's pull it all together and see what it truly takes to become a guardian of the economy.
You know, when you really boil it all down, a central banker has to wear at least 4 different hats. You have to be a legal expert who lives and breathes the rulebook, a macroeconomist who can see the big picture, a skilled manager who knows how to lead people, and a financial detective who's always on the hunt for crime. It's an absolutely incredible combination of skills.
We've just seen a tiny fraction of the knowledge required for this job. The responsibility is just enormous, and the challenges never stop. So, after getting a glimpse of what's on the exam, the final question is really for you. Do you have what it takes?